check and see if it's recorded?
Yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and call the Southern Nevada Enterprise Community Meeting to order. And Jeff, are we in compliance with the open meeting law?
Kelly?
Staff.
Yes, they are.
Okay, thank you.
And if you will allow me, please, I'll do the roll call.
Okay.
Chair Neal,
Here.
Vice Chair Barlow, he's excused. Member Weekly, excused. Member Goins Brown, excused. Member Atkinson,
Present.
Member Young,
Present.
Member Summers Armstrong,
Here.
thank you, via telephone conference.
Here.
Member Hambrick,
Here.
Member Bruin, excused. Thank you. We have a quorum of 5.
Thank you. So we will go ahead and open up for public comment. That's agenda item number 3. Are there any members of the community who would like to come up for public comment at the beginning of the meeting? Okay, seeing none, we will go ahead and close public comment and then reopen it at the end of the meeting. So we will move to agenda item number 4 for possible action to approve the final minutes from June 9th, 2014.
Second.
I did. Oh, thank you.
And then Dr. Young made the second motion. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. So now moving to agenda item number 5, report by Jeff McGeechee.
The balance in the Southern Nevada Enterprise account is, as of June 9th, $1,273.25.
Thank you, Mr. McGeechee. I always wonder, is there any way to get interest on that? Maybe we get 30 cents a day.
We actually do get about $1 between every 2 meetings or something like that.
Alrighty. So for the community's knowledge and information, we are going to obey agenda item 6.
That's it.
No, 6, 8, 6 and 8.
Oh, 6.
And so what we're going to do is go ahead and call, we're going to open up for agenda item number 7 and call...
Sorry, Madam Chair.
Huh?
Can you tell us a date with those who debate too, and also just a vote on the debate?
Oh, okay. So I'm going to take a motion. Let me rephrase. So we're going to obey agenda items 6 and 8, and we're going to move it to the November, is it November 13th?
The next meeting is on December 9th.
Good. That's a good day.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair.
Yes?
This is Chandra Summers Armstrong. I'm sorry. I am having a heck of a time accessing my agenda. Could you please just state for me what those agenda items are so that I can know where I'll be voting on, please, ma'am?
Okay, so agenda item number 6 is the discussion for possible action to select a new vice chair for the SNEC meeting, for the SNEC board. And number 8 is a report by Dr. Tyler of Nevada Partners about the Las Vegas Promise Neighborhood Initiative. She's not here. She had asked me to fill in because I pretty much know what was going on, but since we were, you're ill, right, and we weren't trying to keep you on the phone.
Right, I am not feeling well, but I'm happy to fill in where I can.
So I was going to obey those 2 items and just do items 7 and 9.
Okay.
Which is item 7 is the green impact zones. We were going to call Ward 5 Chamber of Commerce up.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. We'll just need a vote on that debate.
Oh, okay. So, Chandra, are you okay with
Yes,
okay.
yes, that's fine, thank you.
Okay. So, I need a motion.
So moved.
Oh, okay. Second.
Okay. All those in favor to obey those 2 items?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. All right, now moving to agenda item number 7. We're going to call up Ms. Duncan and her group from Ward 5 Chamber to discuss the green impact zones. Go ahead, thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for having the meeting this evening. It really means a lot to us to be able to move forward. Olivia.
Hi, my name is Rick Van Diepen. I am an architect and a sustainability consultant, and Catherine and I and the other members of the Ward 5 Chamber of Commerce, we've been working together on the Harrison House historic renovation project, specifically helping that home to become a green model home for the neighborhood, to be able to show energy and water conservation measures and make that home a model for other energy reduction measures throughout the neighborhood. So what we're here to talk about today is this idea about something about a green impact zone. So members of the Ward 5 Chamber of Commerce and members of the Green Building community, including the U.S. Green Building Council, which I was the past president, and that's how Catherine and I got to know each other. We've been talking about this idea for a while as a way to spur economic development, specifically in the sustainability area. Because this neighborhood has a lot of old homes, a lot of energy efficient homes with single pane glazing and not very great, leaky windows and so forth. We really saw this as a great way to give an opportunity for job training, to give opportunities for these folks to reduce their energy bills and be able to spend that money in a better way. A really good example are two prototype homes that Catherine toured back in 2010. In my role as an architect, we had done a pro bono project for Habitat for Humanity, and two homes in an old neighborhood in Henderson were built to LEED standards, which is Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. So it's a independent rating system that rates the level of green buildings. So those homes were designed very simply, very affordably. They were about $64,000 a piece, built obviously with volunteer labor. But the homes were just really great showcases, and they were open for several weeks, and we gave tours and everything to show folks that with off-the-shelf technology and a little bit of careful design, affordable homes can be designed to be very green and promote a really high level of indoor air quality, making these houses more healthier for the occupants, and also providing them with disposable income that they wouldn't otherwise have. So rather than paying large energy bills for folks that are especially trying to pull themselves up, get off their feet a little bit, this is a great way to do that. So there are multiple benefits, and that's really the model that we're trying to really apply to the Ward 5 neighborhood doing energy retrofits. So the green impact zone is really it's an idea. It's not a novel idea. I wish I could say it was, but this has been done in other communities very successfully. One in specific is in Kansas City, Missouri. That green impact zone, which was begun in 2008-2009, essentially leveraged about $4 million in city-provided seed money through a large cadre of public-private partnerships and community organizations. They leveraged that money through a large amount of grants and other public financing mechanisms, and they leveraged that into over $166 million. So, in our estimation, that imagining what kind of turnaround that could do in a neighborhood like the Southern Nevada Enterprise community, not just Ward 5, but the entire North Las Vegas and City of Las Vegas portion, what that could do to spur development in those areas, using it to create more walkable streets, streets that are more pedestrian friendly, more occupied, working with several community organizations to do cleanups and community policing and so forth. I think some great ways to take the seed of doing energy retrofits of these homes, finishing the renovation of the Harrison House, using that as kind of the headquarters for the neighborhood, and then using it to beautify the neighborhood and promote public transit and other things that are going to promote job promotion. And I think, so just my last point, and I talked right over the slides, so I won't make you read the bullet points. I kind of memorized them all. But the bigger point is to really use this momentum in order to make grant applications and use some tax increment funding to really get a study going and starting to get the phase one going for this, which would be the neighborhood energy retrofits. We really think that these goals overlay very well with the core purpose behind the Southern Nevada Enterprise Community, which is to spur economic development in the neighborhood, to revitalize and stabilize the neighborhood, and also provide jobs, and to make a less risk, or to help outside funding, outside financing be willing to come into the neighborhood and get rid of perceived risk and also some of the real financial risk. And this is just a list of, just a few of the community collaborator groups that could include affordable housing developers such as Nevada Hand and Habitat for Humanity, who are already very established in the neighborhood, bringing private business, UNLV. I work actually part-time with the UNLV Downtown Design Center right now, and they've been having some really great, the director there, Ken McCown, has been having some really great conversations with Councilman Barlow, talking about how UNLV, through their research mechanism and through their community-based design process, can start to look at some of these things and help people visualize, what this street could look like and what a walkable community could look like. And then involving the building trades and some of the unions and obviously the city agencies as well. So that basically wraps it up. But Catherine, do you have anything else to add?
Well, what we would like to...
Yes, what we'd like to do is design a green impact zone where anybody who's living in the SNEC communities, the 9 census tracts, anyone in those census tracts who wanted a job, we would be able to provide them with a job. That's just, bottom line. And we have been brainstorming on a lot of ways we could go about doing that. We could get, as soon as we get ramped up, we could get 20 people in the field right away doing the critical surveys that need to be done. And we believe that every 30 to 45 days we get another 20 people ramped up to get them in the field. But some of the other components of the Green Impact Zone would be to allow people who live in the 9 census tract who've never seen the rest of the valley. They don't know what's going on in Summerlin and Green Valley. Just let's give them a green transit pass and let's let them get on the bus, let them ride, and just see what's going on in the rest of the valley. And they may be encouraged to take a job in Henderson if they knew how the bus transit system worked, because the transit system, even though it's a good system, it is not very user-friendly. You have to be high-tech with the cell phones. You can text when the next bus is coming. You have to have a computer to figure out the routes. So if we could get people more versed in how to use the public transportation system, it may provide a bridge to employment. So that green transit pass would be huge. And as Rick said, we would look at every building in the SNEC area, whether it's a private residence or a church or a business, to look at not only their energy consumption, but the overall quality of the family in the home too, and just see what would it take to make that family or that business or that church more whole. And the studies that we have show that energy consumption is one of the biggest challenges in our SNEC area. Some of us are paying 50 to 60% of our disposable income on energy. If you can imagine paying 50 to 60% of your income just on keeping your house cool or warm in the winter is a big challenge for people who are on a fixed income. So we can go in and tighten up those buildings. Not only is it going to put people to work, but it's going to leave some money in some people's pocket who really need it the most. A couple other components is that there's a lot of dangerous buildings in the SNEC area. Those will also have to be surveyed. We have to work with both North Las Vegas and Las Vegas government to find out which of these dangerous buildings deserve to be torn down, and let's take them down. I mean, what are we waiting for? They're just sitting there deteriorating, attracting more nuisance, more problems for the community. We want to really go in and identify those vacant, dangerous buildings and get them torn down. And we believe we can get this done in the next 30 weeks. Another challenge, sustainability, is in communication. And we believe that if we could get internet access in the SNEC area, it could also provide opportunities to businesses and residents. They have a project going downtown where everybody in the downtown area gets free internet. So we could look at that for the SNEC area as well. And community gardens would be another avenue, as well as, so we have just a whole shopping list of possible activities that can happen in the green impact zone, but we don't want to dictate to the community, so there needs to be a planning process that we go through and some surveying done, and that's where we need your help.
So, committee, I know I have at least 3 questions. My first one, and I'm just going to ask that one and let the committee ask their questions, is how is the green impact zone defined? Is this defined through a city ordinance? Was this defined through state statute in other areas? Because I'm not clear on what a green impact zone is. I heard you say private-public partnerships, and that it was an idea and it manifested itself in other places. But how is it defined? What is the criteria of that type of zone? And is there an existing statute or city ordinance that we could see or review?
Actually, it's just a term of art, the green impact zone. So you could take one street and declare it a green impact zone, or we could declare the whole SNEC 9 census tracts as a green impact zone. It will be up to the planning committee and to us to decide what our scope is.
But there is it is an established area. Specifically in there's one in Seattle as well, but in Kansas City it is an area that's designated by the municipality.
Yeah, by a government body.
Funded by the city of Kansas City, the C fund.
Thank you. So I'm going to have Dr. Young go and then Senator Atkinson. This should be a good one because he's on energy.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation, and to me this is very much a needed area of very much a discussion. I come from Dayton, Ohio. We did something called Model Cities, and Model Cities doing the, maybe 60s, 70s, 80s, utilized a lot what you're saying that happened with, what is the name, Kansas City, Kansas City, and really got a lot of funding through, I want to say the Johnson administration, called the, I can't even think of the title of it, but they had a lot of federal funds, and we did the same thing, really upgraded homes and did a lot in terms of helping older structures and buildings and building up neighborhoods and walkways and so forth. So this looks really good. I just was reading a little bit about the Green Impact Zone, that there was 3.5 years or so, it was $178 million that Kansas City received in federal grants and private funds. Wow. In 3.5 years. I mean, what do you envision? I guess that's my quick question. A long question. What do you envision? How do we get the funding? Well, I mean, what kind of money will we get? I mean, this is a lot compared. I know it started in 2009, but this seems quite robust in terms of funding. Well, what's your thoughts here?
Well, I mean, the community work that's been done through the Southern Nevada Strong grant, community master plan grant, is really setting the stage for Southern Nevada to have a really robust light rail system or some kind of really serious ramping up of our public transit system. That's that is what's happened in each of the communities. You saw it in Phoenix, you see it in Salt Lake City. Each of those communities that got that same grant that we did, that's what happened as a result of that. So I think this the timing is just really fantastic because we've been talking about this for a while as kind of as a group, but the timing with Southern Nevada Strong. And other things that are going on with some of these large community development block grants that are out there through HUD grants and so forth. When they're applied for as a coalition, as a broad coalition, and not just a handful of nonprofit organizations or one municipal agency, there's a huge possibility for those grants to be awarded, and especially. So many of them, even private foundations like the Kresge Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation, they're focusing on these tracts around the country, and their money is only going to these census tracts with these income levels. So I think there's a fantastic potential for that to happen, and frankly, sort of from just a vision standpoint, I can see. Ward 5 becoming the next kind of Lodo section of Denver, the Gaslight district in San Diego. I mean, those were all underutilized, urban quasi-blighted areas, and now they're really a destination. So that's really what we're looking for.
And so you're going to be looking at tying in, because I was just going to ask you about Nevada Strong, if you put that to that. And you're looking at perhaps moving this green impact zone to Nevada Strong, and then look at funding sources. Is that what you're looking at? Is that the next step to source on?
Well, I believe Nevada Strong would make an excellent partner because we would have to build a consortium, and because they've done so much of the planning in the whole valley. But to pinpoint in on just the 9 census tracts that we're concerned with, they would certainly make a great partner, especially where it comes to intercity light rail transportation.
Okay, thank you.
So the Southern Nevada Regional Planning Coalition will be an excellent partner as well.
Thank you, Senator Atkinson.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and thank you both for this presentation. I have a couple questions if the committee would indulge me. So you mentioned funding and grants. Where do they come? Where do the grants come from? Have you guys already applied for them? Are they already in the works? And how much are you anticipating starting up? I mean, there's got to be some startup.
We haven't applied for it. We've applied for a couple of small grants, including locally through the Centennial Commission, just specifically for the Harrison Street House. So much more on a local small scale. This organization is small, and we really are looking for a larger coalition to do this. And that's kind of partly why we're here today, to really we really see the mission and the charge of this organization, the enterprise community, being a fantastic platform to be able to jump.
And I understand that, but this committee doesn't have any money, so we don't have grants.
We got $1,200.
I said startup money, not startup change. Which, this is, obviously this is when you begin to discuss energy type issues, making things more efficient, making things more energy efficient. And as I always like to say when I explain these issues always cost up front. It costs money to become energy efficient. It costs money to decommission coal. It costs money to get out of the grid. It costs money to put solar on your houses. It was a discussion I was having with somebody the other day that the problem with solar and energy is that the folks that need it the most can't afford it. And so there are a couple of things that we are looking at legislatively, and more particularly myself, and how do we get the federal government to help with rooftops, because that's also a major issue. The current solar systems, for instance, just take 8906 and most of the housing in 106, the rooftops can't even support it. You can't even go put, 15 or 20 panel on someone's roof. It'll fall right through it and won't support it. So there has to be some talk about funding and grants to be able to first fix the roofs in the community, to be able to support solar, because there is no solar that you put on the ground. You can't put it around the house. You can't put it has to go on top. And the roof also has to be facing in a certain direction. So again, that takes money. And so we've been talking to folks at the White House, had a meeting with them a couple weeks ago. They're interested in some bill that I did last session, so I'm trying to get something out, and that they're trying to use my bill. So that's just been some of the discussion. But this project, obviously, this committee does not have that type of funding to even begin to even talk about doing this. And so I was just trying to figure out, and I'm just telling you some of my ideas about some of the things that we need to do and what I think we need to express it with respect to communities that need some type of help.
Yes.
Getting
Okay,
these
let me
programs.
see if I could address it, because it's a multi-tiered system, and people aren't getting anything free. They're going to be paying for the services and the improvements, but what they're doing is they're paying for it through the savings of their energy bill. So there's a lot of existing resources already that just have to be coordinated. For example, Energy Fit Nevada has a $7,000 low-interest loan program. So it was our hope that we could perhaps tap into the new $28 million new market tax credit funds to establish a fund that we could pull from and pay back into. So an infusion of new market tax credits would also make us eligible for a substantial grant from the EDA, the Economic Development Administration. And so
I just wanted to make it clear, now you're kind of speaking the language, so now you're talking, so you're trying to tap into some of the new markets credits, which is fine, because it's something the chairman and I have been trying to figure out how do we get access to more of that with the community, because that's what that money was intended for. Those monies and that program was intended to help communities like ours, and not being thrown somewhere. So that's, I get that. And so that is something we should do. But then the other part of it, and I want to address the jobs part of it, because that's always a tricky topic too, because I always say that too. We always run around saying, we need to give people jobs and we need to do it, but we're not preparing people for those jobs. These jobs are very skill specific, and so are we going to do anything? And I know I have another thing in mind, something Washington State has done with respect to, I met with Trish and some other folks, and we came up with some great ideas emanating from some Washington language and some apprenticeship programs to try to get people ready for these new sector of jobs that are coming along, because we can't keep running around saying we're going to give people jobs. This isn't, maid service at, the hotel. This isn't, we're not talking about lawn service. We're talking about very skilled positions. And if we're not doing something to get them ready for these energy-specific jobs, they're not going to get them. So we can't, and we're not going to continue to be able to just kind of do propaganda. There has to be something that gets them ready for these new sector of jobs, because other folks are getting ready for them. And they know that, Tesla, I'll just throw it out there real quick. Tesla is going to be the biggest consumption user of solar, geo, water, and wind energy than anyone in the state. They're going to have 270 megawatts of pure clean energy. That's the most than anyone, including the hotel industry in the state. They have some in place, but they're going to be the largest, and they're only going to have 25 megawatts on the grid, which means they are going to create their own monopoly. And we just got to understand that and understand that that's going to be the case. But we've got to have something that competes with that. They're going to have their folks ready, and as I told them when we were in session, and I made it loud and clear, they're going to have 6,500 jobs, but those jobs won't be for our community, because none of our folks are going to be able to get any of those. So we have to start developing programs, getting an apprenticeship program going that's probably geared towards energy, those types of jobs that get people into those jobs, because we're missing the boat. We're not getting them.
And that's absolutely correct. And energy is one of the primary sectors where a lot of the financing comes from. But the low-hanging fruit is recycling. And so it doesn't take high-skilled people to do recycling. We just have to put together a recycling program in the SNEC area where we do a better job of collecting from citywide by the people who live in the SNEC area. And there's a tremendous opportunity in recycling and also in community policing. So we had to put a green courtesy patrol so we make our community safe. And so we can start getting some good reports out of what's going on in our community. It's a safe place to be. It's a place where you get lost. There's a green courtesy patrolling the streets to, help you out.
And I'm okay with that. And Madam Chair, just one last thing. You started talking on topic and I kind of can't stop it. And I'm okay with that, Ms. Duncan, but we can't be satisfied with that's the only level we're going to have.
Oh, and don't get me wrong,
we've got to have the ability to transition into the higher paying jobs. And I think that's what I'm talking about. We're always going to be able to do the recycling and we're going to be able to do the low level stuff. But when do we get our opportunity to put our folks in a better position?
We're anticipating that our recycling program will pay not less than $15 an hour. So we think that's a livable wage, a decent wage, $15 an hour. We're starting an organization called Veterans Recycling. And so we're going to be calling on all U.S. military veterans to help run the recycling program, not only to help the community, but because of national security. And so that's going to be a huge impact on how we recycle in the SNEC area.
And also, just in terms of rooftop solar and energy retrofits, training folks to do home energy audits, to be able to do walkthroughs and be able to recognize, do infrared scans and so forth. Just using the equipment, doing a blower door test in the house, just figuring out where all the leaks are coming from, where they need to seal, and being able to tell those homeowners, okay, here are the priorities for your house. Here are the things that we can do in your house. We can seal it. We can add some insulation here and there. Just redoing your thermostat, things like that. But also training those folks to be able to do, actually do the implementation of these. So training them to do the audits, training them to actually do the work, the retrofit work, and then training them, through this apprenticeship program, which would have to be, probably in conjunction with IBW. So because installation of solar, rooftop solar, even residential, it's a high voltage application. So you do have to be, an electrician to be able to do that. But so there are some electricians, are obviously, very well paid jobs. So and there are several others, I think, that go along with this, with this whole idea in this industry, in this area. So I think there's a path for folks to be able to learn through an apprenticeship program and be able to work their way up. And I was also involved for several years with Green Chips, which is a local nonprofit organization. It's represented by all the municipalities here in town, and as well as all the major resorts and the LDCVA. But Green Chips would be an ideal partner as well to be able to work with those city agencies as well as the major resorts to be able to give them a conduit for job placement and on-the-job training in a commercial arena. So after they've learned these skills on-site, on residential, and then expanding it through the union halls or other training programs, being able to find them some jobs in the commercial industry as well.
Well, let me ask question.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Ms. Armstrong?
I have a question.
Can we let Senator Atkinson, he has his
I'm not sure where you are. My apologies.
Yeah,
No, you're fine.
he has one more, and then we're good.
Yeah, Dr. Seth, one last one. So, I'm just going to say this one more time. So there is a funding issue. So there is a need to have startup money to get at least the first part of it going. So I'm hearing that there needs to be a startup phase, the startup money, and then you can move into some of these other phases as you begin to build an account or build some capital to do the other things that come along with it. So starting with recycle, then moving on to, lack of a better term, bigger and better things.
And that funding obviously wouldn't come from here, but if there's an
You're saying that, and you're saying that, and I get that, but you're saying that though. But my point to that is, and I can't speak for the whole committee, but before I buy into anything, I would need to see what that is, what the numbers are, what we're talking about doing with it, where the money's coming from, before I go out banging the drum endorsing anything. I'm just telling how I am and how I work, and so I'm trying to get this number, trying to figure out where it comes from, who we're employing, how we're going to, because we've heard this story, and I know Ms. Duncan's all about employment community, but how we go about employing the community, et cetera, and if there's going to be a component, which is from this other $28 million for the tax credit, then we have to be able to sell that, is what I'm saying. So we can't just say, yes, the money's going to be there, it's not going to come from us, but we need to know those numbers, and we need to know all of those things before. And I'm, again, speaking for myself, so I shouldn't say we, but I need to know that before I start banging the drum, trying to drum up support for it. So.
Ms. Armstrong?
I think that my comment and concern is absolutely along the lines of what Senator Atkinson is stating. The thing that I'm most concerned about when I'm hearing this presentation, I'm sorry that I'm not there to witness your slides, is, in my opinion, the extensive broadness of your discussion, and that broadness not being accompanied with a grant application that could support any of it. Past history of a substantial enough grant being administered to you all to show a history of how you go about implementing some of these ideas. And to me, your concept is so broad, I think that it makes it difficult for me, I can't speak to anyone else, to get a grasp on what it is you want to accomplish. And I think that one of the things that would help me see movement is some kind of a plan. What is it that you're trying to accomplish in steps? And I heard energy training, I heard recycling, I heard security, I heard job training, all kinds of fabulous ideas. But I remember once someone said, you eat the elephant one bite at a time. And I think that we have a problem in our community that could be justly described as an elephant. And I don't think that we will be successful if we're trying to address every issue at once. I would like to see a plan that specifically targets a specific approach, a specific issue that you can go out and back up with grant funding and show the community as a whole, those who have access and who are decision makers in grant distribution, what can be done. We've had many conversations in the past about these issues. You've been before our board several times, and each time it's great ideas, but we have a fundamental issue with not having a solid process, a solid approach for how you're going to get it done, Ms. Duncan. And I'm waiting for that. And I agree with Senator Atkinson that I, as a member of the SNEC, can't go out and beat the drum either if I don't see something solid. And I think we need to see that. We need to see a grant application that is well thought out and well written, submitted, and being started so that we can know where you're going. These are great ideas, but how are you going to accomplish one thing from start to finish? Just one thing. Can be just one item. And I think that is what is hindering me, and possibly what is hindering the ability for you to get broader support, or maybe I'm misunderstanding or misconstruing, or I don't get it. But that's the impression that I'm getting from where I'm sitting. And I want to see something happen. I live, 4 blocks from you, not very far. I'm in the SNEC zone. I drive in the SNEC zone. I consider it my community. I want to see something wonderful happen. But we have to go from a broad idea to a solid plan. And I think that's where it needs to be at for me right now. We need a solid plan. That's it.
Yeah, I think we agree completely. So this is something, in my opinion, something like this can be done at a neighborhood scale. We could start with a pilot project of a dozen homes or so that we're going to reach out to and do some energy retrofits. It could be something that small, which could be a small to medium grant application. I also don't think that the Ward 5 Chamber of Commerce necessarily has to be the driver of this. We're just trying to be the catalyst for a larger community initiative here, to try to bring in more stakeholders and get something like this done. But I think we both totally agree that. And we've been taking notes here that I think putting together a good work plan, identifying some we already have several grant applications and partners that are targeted. So I think that's something we can work on.
And one more question, sir. In your previous work as the vice president of this international organization, the Green Energy Coalition, I didn't quite catch where you had previously served. What kind of successes did you all have, and how did you all go about gaining those successes? What was your process? And are there things that we are concerned about here, things that were resolved in order to get success at the previous place where you were working before?
Sure. So I was the state president of the U.S. Green Building Council chapter here in Nevada for 2 terms. And the way we worked, and I'm really proud that organization, it's a nonprofit, but it's the state component of a very large national organization. I'm really proud to say that our organization was not sit around and talk to each other and come up with great ideas organization. And that's really what I'm hoping to bring, and why I've been involved with Ward 5 for a couple of years now. Is we want to bring that get stuff done attitude to this neighborhood and to the SNEC area, and do what we can. So our organization would jump in and do fairly large scale community initiatives. We built a large edible landscape demonstration garden at a school. This year we helped renovate and install 5,000 square feet of artificial turf at Walter Bracken Elementary School. Help fund and install some more raised bed gardens there. So we really try to show that we're passionate about green building, we're passionate about energy conservation, and how that can affect the community by boots on the ground projects.
That we hadn't done an energy project before?
No, we actually did a commercial benchmarking study and project with a big survey of a large number of commercial buildings for the city of Las Vegas. So we have done some large things like that.
But what about training?
We've done a lot of training to get folks certified to be certified as LEED accredited professionals and LEED Green Associates. I've also done training with Nevada Industry Excellence, which is a public-private partnership through UNLV, training all kinds of facility engineers on green buildings, on energy efficient operations and maintenance. So I'm not the only one. A lot of other people in the organization have even more experience than I do. But yeah, this is several years of training in the field of sustainability and green building and operations.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so we're just going to have two final questions. So I'm going to ask just one question. So I'm curious about stakeholder conversations, right, that have been ongoing. Who, number one, are the affordable housing developers and what they had to say? What has the city of Las Vegas had to say? You said you spoke with Councilman Barlow. I want to know what his opinion was. City of Las Vegas, who did you speak to over there? Have you even reached out to the energy company, MB Energy, who engages in some level of, they do some support around projects. I mean, I want to know more detail, and you don't have to give it tonight, but if you could provide that information on who you spoke to, what they had to say, and so we can get more of an idea of who these stakeholders are, who believe in this idea, that would be super helpful.
If I could, when we started this process of revitalizing the low-income distressed area in 2007, we're faced with the same questions that you have. How are we going to do it? How's it going to get done? And we were told that the reason why our neighborhood was not getting economic development was because of crime and drugs and all that stuff, which is basically untrue. Those are some of the symptoms, but some of the underlying causes of the tremendous impact on our neighborhood is economics. And so we took a lot of effort and initiative to look for models nationwide. We weren't the only city that was faced with these challenges. How did they do it? So we found a model in Portland, Oregon that we are copying. So we started having meetings back in 2009 at the offices of Rick was president of PGOL Architects at the time. So we brought in the labor unions, we brought in construction companies from Trade Winds Construction, Lead Core Construction. We had the apprenticeship programs. We Chambers of Commerce. We just had a whole bunch of people in the room to talk about how can we do in Las Vegas what's been so successful in Portland. And in Portland, they're going great. They're revitalizing homes. They've got people working. And I encourage you to look at the Portland model, which I think I brought to you, or maybe it was a different board of people here. I brought you the Portland model in 2010 and asked you to please take a look at the Portland model and see what we could do as an agency. Maybe it was 2008 because it was before the F Street debacle. So we were working on following the Portland model, but then we spent the rest of that time closing and opening F Street. So now we're finally getting back to there, and I realize that you don't have the basic information that we provided to the same board when we first got started. So I believe we'll have to go back, because I met with each of you individually and talked to you about this process. I met with Dr. Young when she first got her assignment, and I called each of you and said, well, this is where we are now, and how can we move this process along? So we met with, I'll just go down the list, the Workforce Investment Board, the City of Las Vegas Redevelopment Agency, the Urban League, Energy Fit Nevada, MV Energy, Southwest Gas, Southern Nevada Water Authority, Green Chips, Metro Police Department, the Vote American Command, the U.S. Green Building Council, International Air and Space Education Foundation, Help of Southern Nevada, Get Active Foundation, and the Energy Conservation Group are the organizations that we've been closely connected with and associated with. And we believe that the Harrison House is what we decided was going to be our model to figure out how to implement this Portland model, because never in Nevada have we had a historic home be renovated to not only get historic designation, but to get LEED certification at the same time. So our model is Harrison House. We've had people working on Harrison House, getting them trained for just to see what type of person it would take to do an energy upgrade. So Harrison House is our model, and we've been going very slowly because it is a learning model for us, and we're also learning best practices, and we've learned that we don't want to train people for the whole Building Performance Institute because that can be daunting. So we realize we can break jobs down, and we can actually hire a person to be just a caulk gun installer. Your job is just to be a caulk gun. You don't have to do anything else. You go up in the attic and spray the foam. So we believe that because we work with building trades, apprenticeship, with all the energy provider groups, we actually got a small grant from Urban League to show us how to actually do intake, how to go into homes and interview people to see what their needs are. We went through that whole process. So since 2007, we have been engaged in activities designed to bring this forward.
So you've had recent conversations to integrate them now into the Green Impact Zone conversation, and they're still on board. The partners from 2007 are still on board in 2014.
Many of them are. Rick's changed jobs, I think, 3 times since then, but he's always stayed with the Harrison House project as a consultant. As you know, Urban League has gone through so much weatherization funds, but weatherization only looks at one aspect of sustainability. And so even the power company with their program, they will help people pay their power bill, but all it does is circulate funds through the inefficient home back into energy's pocket. So it doesn't do anything to fix the problem, it just circulates the funds back to them. And so one of the things we're going to be looking at as a planning committee is on-bill financing. Senator Atkinson, this is an area where we would be coming to you. In the SNEC area, we would, one way we would look to finance solar is to have the energy company actually allow us to install, they would collect the money on behalf of the solar company based on the power bill. And then that's the program that they're doing in Wisconsin. It's called the CALS program. So what we need now is just, what we need is for you as a body is to consider the Green Impact Zone as part of your community economic development strategy. And if you have language saying that, then we can move forward saying, well, the SNEC has a Green Impact Zone as part of their community economic development strategy. Then we can, again, reach out and build a consortium of people who can help build a future plan.
And that really is the key, is that we're really just looking for, not an endorsement of Ward 5 or us as individuals or anything like that, just that an idea like this that's worked in other communities very successfully in a very broad coalition, that could work here, or it might work here, or it's worth looking into. That's really all we're asking tonight.
Okay, Senator Atkinson.
Well, I think that's fine, but the issue again is and I'm sorry, what was your name again? Rick. The only thing you provided to us was a white paper on what Kansas City did. This to me does not tell me anything about what this does for this, or what it does for this community. I can read this all day long, I'm pretty skilled and I can read pretty well, but this only addresses what happened there. And so, amen for them that have worked there, and I don't have any issue. But this still doesn't tell me a thorough program, a thorough outlook, a thorough effort for what it takes for this here. I think what this committee is talking about is having something in front of us that addresses exactly what you guys are talking about, tells us exactly what's going to happen, tells us exactly where funding is coming from, even if it's not coming from us. We never even suggested that it was coming from us. We know y'all know we don't have the money. So Where does it come from? How is it going to be spent? What programs are going to be started? How many jobs are going to come from this? How many people are going to be employed? What types of jobs? That's what we're talking about. We're having an open discussion now, but none of this is on paper. This doesn't do anything for me. You know, I mean, I probably can go find somebody else who did something like this and read up on it. I mean, I'm sure research is out there all day long. I have a research analyst that can give me that. I'm not talking about that. We're talking about how do we start even doing this here? How do we even start doing this for our community? This is just an open discussion right now. I think what I was looking for was you to come with a plan. This isn't a plan.
No, I think we have our marching orders.
Okay, thank you.
So,
And if I could, I believe it's the obligation of this board to develop a plan.
Well, it's not.
You have a duty to develop a community economic development strategy. It's what your mission to do, that's my understanding. And so what we would like to do is work with you and coming up with your community economic development strategy. So maybe we could ask the city attorney if that's not what our mission is.
so,
Yeah, I'm not certain that that's their mission is to partner with entities to come up with plans.
No, that's misunderstanding. The mission of the SNEC, our board, is to develop a community economic development plan. That's their mission as the Southern Valley Enterprise Committee. That's what they do. Their job is to, if Mr. McGeechee, he could explain.
Maybe he did.
so let me take, and I'll answer that. Dr. Young, final comment on this, and then I'll clarify. Go off.
Final comment, and I just would be very brief. I think where people in this committee may feel a little uncomfortable is that what do you specifically want from this group? Like, what do you want? Just to say there's an interest, that this group has an interest in this, and then that there would be further development from this, and that you would then come back with thoughts, and we can have thoughts, and there can be a nice exchange. So I think the bottom line is, what would we provide, or what do you want? And I'm hearing you say you want, is there an interest to move forward from your perspective with a dialogue from us and other public-private partners as well? Because I think that's where people are feeling a little uncomfortable. The first step of any event or an activity is, can you get a little bit of a buy-in of an interest first? Is this worthy of a topic? Is this worthy of a dialogue? Is this worthy of us continuing this discussion? Or is this discussion not appropriate and a shutdown? So I think you're trying to get, is this worthy of a topic of further discussion? And that has to be the first part. And then all the specifics then start to flow from that. And so, I mean, maybe that's where we need to say, is this worthy of a topic? Is it something that down the line that we would want to go further with? And I think that's what I'm hearing you say.
I think what's clear is that everyone believes that it's of interest. What was stated was that if you come back with a plan on how this can be implemented, who will be doing it, and the cost. Because if you read the Missouri plan or what happened in Kansas, they got their startup funding from stimulus dollars, federal stimulus dollars that they took advantage of in order to manifest their goals. That is not in existence right now. So there are other dollars that you need. You mentioned TIF, tax increment financing. That cannot manifest itself unless a city or a statutory authority allows that to be created. Do you understand? Because it is already a dedicated source of money that goes to an existing activity or area. So, knowing that we have ideas, which we are not downplaying the idea, we are not clear on the process and the implementation. And I understand that in the past, Ms. Duncan has come to this board with ideas, and we've never fleshed or filtered them out. This is a true statement. Now that we have something that you believe in, you have partners, you've managed to do it, now we need to figure out what is the bite-sized piece, because that's what Ms. Chandra Armstrong said. What is the bite-sized component that you can bring back that is something that can be completed, an actual action that can be completed? You got a whole cake. We only want the slice. So if you say there are 10 slices that have to be developed over 5 years, what's slice number 1 of this cake in order for you to deliver it, and what does it cost, and how can you manifest it? Because that's what's not clear. What's clear is that there is an idea on the table. Great. How is not there. And who, and when, and the cost.
Okay, so we've used Harrison House as a model. We've taken it from, and Mr. Hamrick, the next door neighbor, can tell us, we've taken it from a deteriorated property that was a real eyesore, and with just sweat equity and the small grants that we've gotten and with our community buy-in, we've been able to save the home, and now our next step is to make it a net zero home, which means that our goal is to turn the power meter backwards. So finishing Harrison House is our next big goal.
So what you need to do, Harrison House is your example of work that you've been doing for a few years. It is your example of the potential growth or vision, right? So that in your plan is an example of previous work that you have done, which is solid and which is a good example to list in the plan. But beyond the example, you then need to then show how does Harrison House become then a part of the larger goal of, number 1, completing it, right? Your vision of the green impact zone, how does it fit in? How will that be manifested? And then how many more Harrison homes logistically can you create? And what is the dollar amount associated with that? Because my understanding is you want, 5 or multiple Harrison type of energy efficient homes? I don't, because to use that example means that the example is what is being built upon. Either there are several Harrison House homes, or there is something else envisioned. Because if there is something other than the Harrison House envisioned, then that's not the best example to use as your benchmark for the plan. Because if that's not what you're trying to recreate over and over and over again, then that's not what you should use as the best example. But it would be something that you would use to show experience, work around that is integrated into your new idea. Does that make sense?
Yes, and what we want to show in Harrison House is how a person can either reduce or completely eliminate their energy bill. Not everybody's going to want solar panels on their roof that they're going to need 7 to 10 years to pay for. We can't dictate to the public. We have to engage the people to find out to what level of upgrades are they expecting in their property. So there's no way we can know what people want until we actually find out. We have to do surveying.
Okay, Madam Chairwoman, if I could, and that, that's all fine. I haven't seen of anyone being able to come off the grid and be able to pay for their own energy without solar. So I'm not sure how you even get to that. And Ms. Duncan, you'd be very lucky to be able to get it paid off in 7 years. So those units are very, very, very expensive, and most of them are 20, 15, and 20, and 30 years payment plans. But
Senator, have you been to Cold Creek Canyon?
I have.
Yeah, they don't have a grid there at all.
Well, that's because they're doing their own. Yeah. An individual resident cannot come off the grid. So we just got to be clear about that. Even if you have your own solar, you're still paying energy $30 to $40 a month. You're still paying. So we just really need to be clear about that. An individual resident cannot come totally off the grid. So there is some cost to NV Energy per month. It could be $30, it could be $40, but they're on the grid. So and Cold Creek has their own because they're with a different energy company who does not play fairly in the state. So I would use them as a good example. So My only issue is this, and I think Dr. Young said it, and I think she's absolutely correct, and I didn't want to give the wrong impression that we're not interested in the topic. Because I'm interested in the topic, I just need something that moves me closer to a reality of what you guys are trying to do, is what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Public-private partnerships have been good, and they've been bad. I was not for public-private partnerships when I was chairman of transportation, when they wanted to do public-private partnerships on our highways and freeways. It wasn't for them then because I didn't like the way public-private partnership worked in that realm because our citizens were going to pay too much. Again, if you're talking about public-private partnerships with projects like this, I just need to know more of what you're talking about and how people are going to pay, because as you said a moment ago, people aren't going to pay anything. They're still going to pay a small cost. So that's all I'm saying. And if we're going to do that, then these things need to be laid out so that we all have a better understanding of where, because you mentioned, you brought this 2008, or I'm not sure who was here. I know I wasn't. I don't know, Dina, good. You may have been.
Stephen was the chair.
The Stephen was chair and a few other people. So I don't know anything about it. So I'm just going to be honest.
No, it's Portland, Oregon is the model that we're following.
Portland?
Portland, Oregon.
They have something that we can just readily research.
Yes, it's what you call Portland. I can get it back.
If you can email it to us. Or, okay, that's fine. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're pretty much good. I do want to just finalize a comment that you made about, and Mr. McGee, you can come to the table, about the statutory language of SNEC. The purpose.
Let me just read that, Chairman.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I can read that. This comes from NRS Chapter 407, Section 9, which talks about the purpose of the board. To advise the governmental entities that have members on the board with respect to the project, to identify projects that may be eligible for federal funding or funding through city and county redevelopment authorities, and request appropriations for those projects from the Clark County Board of County Commissioners, the Las Vegas City Council, and the North Las Vegas City Council, or the governing boards of their respective redevelopment authorities.
And maybe you guys can read the federal legislation that NRS speaks to.
Federal legislation is not cited within the statute. It is something that's a part of the record. When it was created in 2007, it was a federal enterprise zone that was created under President Clinton's legislation in 1995. And then it became a federal designated area because of the urban, elements and poverty and population. And then Senator Horsford came along in 2007, right, and created the Southern Nevada Enterprise Zone, and it's kind of morphed. We had an amendment to the legislation that failed last session, and it's pretty much the exact language has pretty much remained the same, except where I think it changed. He made it in 2009. I think he passed legislation in 2009. That affected some language, and that's how we got to the Economic Development Plan, because Senator Horsford created a draft document that was never approved by the EDA that has been on our agenda, and that we have a strategy committee that is working to redraft and change some of those goals so that they're manageable and doable for what SNEC can do. And so there is an economic plan out there. It is still in its draft stage. The strategy committee has met once. They will be meeting again. So I understand what you're saying, because the projects, right, is generally listing projects or things that we may want to take on that the EDA would eventually review and decide if those are manageable. But the projects that we put in the plan have to make sense. We're not putting anything in the plan that hasn't been vetted, that hasn't gone through the community process, and where people say that this is real. We have a cost, we have a financial statement about what it costs, where it's going to go, and what are the benefits. So there's been a financial analysis made, right? So it's a merging of several things. And we know SNEC encompasses West Las Vegas and North Las Vegas. And so it is a unique situation because it has double borders, but it represents a historical community that has been underdeveloped. So we're very clear on what that is. So going forward by December 9th, right, or somewhere in between, because clearly our next meeting is December 9th. So you have the month of October, and you have the month of November, or even before November. If you want a deadline to produce information to the committee, we can give you that, or you give us a deadline. If you say November 15th, you can produce a plan that the strategy committee can review, no problem. Public process, you can submit that information for it to be reviewed, but you need to make sure it has all of your stuff together. Does that make sense? That's fair. The people on the strategy committee will do what they do, right? They have a financing background, they're developers, they'll tear it apart and do whatever they need to do to say whether that makes sense and ask you questions about it.
And when do they meet again?
It's not until October 29th.
Okay.
Okay? I think that's fair, right? Because you've been thinking about this for a long time.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
Thank you so much.
All right. Okay, so we're going to close agenda item number 7. Real quick, this will be real quick. So agenda item number 9. Basically, here we are with the Southern Nevada Enterprise Community Economic Development Plan. We have one strategy committee. Initially, we had members. We had the change. There was 9 members, 7. I think it's 11.
Madam Chair, could you just read the item?
Okay, agenda item number 9, discussion for possible action regarding the update of SNEC Community Economic Development Plan. That's agenda item number 9. Okay, so we have one strategy committee. We replaced Frank Hawkins because he's always out of town with Nick Steele of Eclipse Theater. He spends his time in the Dominican. But he's building projects out there. He's gone like every 3 weeks. We couldn't nail it down. So Nick Steele is the replacement for that. We have Brian Maddox, who is he's with Clearinghouse, New Market Tax. He does a lot of things, but he's a finance person. We have Chandra Armstrong, myself, Nancy Brune, City of North Las Vegas. What's his name? Jeff?
Jim Hay.
Jim Hay.
On staff of the city.
Okay, and then Jeff Medici. And who else were we missing?
Ken Evans.
Ken Evans
Chamber.
from Urban Chamber.
And Cornelius Eason.
And Cornelius Eason. Cornelius was not present. He is traveling, so he'll probably be in and out of the meeting, but we had a forum, so we met. What we were able to do was take the draft that Senator Hortzberg, now Congressman Hortzberg, created in 2007, strike out a lot of the goals, condense the goals, make them manageable, because they were very huge goals that we could never do. And there were things that Urban Chamber really should be doing, like business strategy. That is Urban Chamber's total area. We're not getting involved in that. So what we were able to do, or at least strike out the goals, we have 2 meetings back to back, October 29th and 30th. So we could finish drafting. We talked about tying our plan into clearly the larger regional structure. Me and Mr. Medici had already had a conversation with LVGEA Michael Vanuzzi to talk about either making them aware. Mainly, we made them aware that the plan is in existence. We talked about what would be our options, them opening up their sets to either include us in the plan or to support what we were doing. And the impetus of that is that if we go into the LVGA regional, then we become a part of the whole region, and the uniqueness of SNEC may be lost, even though the money or funding opportunity may also be there. And so that's a sticky wicket, because the uniqueness of the area is what made the SNEC the legislative body that it is, and the federal legislation. So the committee decided to, well, we actually didn't decide, we tabled it as a discussion. We're going to try to make a decision of what we want to do with that. The next thing we discussed was, how do we tie ourselves into Southern Nevada Strong? How do we tie ourselves into SNRP? C. So that we can make them aware of what we're doing and kind of like connect the dots. So we have an open-ended strategy of how do we plug ourselves into the existing environment and say, here's how we fit, because we have done the analysis on the community goals. We're tying in North Las Vegas revitalization plan that Councilwoman Goins is currently working on for the Buena Vista site and portions of North Las Vegas. We're waiting for the market study, which will be completed what date?
I believe Mr. Hayes said it was going to be done towards the end of October.
So we're waiting on the market study that was done to try to include that language also in the plan, so that represents the North Las Vegas portion. And that's as far as we got.
Good.
And so we feel pretty good about it, because we have some really active people on the board who understand financing, funding, relationships, and how we can do a manageable plan that can be approved by the EDA. So, Mr. Medici, any additional things that I missed?
No, I think you covered it all.
Right, so we're hoping that we can hash it out 29th and the 30th and get something that we can bring back to the committee to read.
That's good.
Yeah. So, and they promised me they will meet back to back, and we'll do what we gotta do. So that's the update. So any additional comments from board members on 9? I'll close that out, and then I'll move to, you have a question, Mr.
I
Hammer?
don't think it's about that.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yes, I just have one request beyond F Street. I was in the meeting with Las Vegas Paving last week, and also, but we had an incident over at F and Madison, Second Baptist Church. And
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. Maybe we should put this on citizens.
Okay.
Maybe you can call it out and then we can. I'm sorry.
So let's backtrack. To clean up the record, I'm going to close out agenda item number 9. And then we're going to move to agenda item number 10, which is citizen participation, and then we're going to continue the comment from Mr. Hambrick. Go ahead.
yeah, excuse me. What I would request what really happened over there last week on F Street and Madison, right there by Second Baptist Church. We have the church right here, and we have our little storehouse right across the street, about, I guess 30 yards or something like that. But anyway, where we go from the church to get some of our supplies, one of the police officers came by and was giving out jaywalking ticket. So that was one thing I wanted you to be aware of. So if they're going to do that, we need some pedestrian sign and some crosswalks there.
Just clarify question. They were giving out jaywalking tickets to seniors? To seniors?
He's saying anybody.
Oh, to anybody.
Yeah, yes.
Who were going to pick up food supplies from the church?
Yes, they were picking up supplies from the church. So when we gave out what we had in the church, we just go right across the street to our storeroom. And this is where they gave the jaywalking ticket.
Okay.
Yes, the policeman did that.
Thank you for sharing. Did you get the name of the officers?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
we have all the report on that.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's not that hard.
I'd be happy to follow up with you, Mr. Hambrick, after the meeting and see if I can get any information to help you follow up on that.
Okay. So, agenda item number 10, this is public comment again for the community. If anybody want to come to the table, come now.
Hi, I'm Gregor. I'm Gregory Martin. I live at 2900 South Valley View in the 10th District. I wanted to comment on the community as a whole. This is the first time I've seen it. And I used to be part of the Gary, Indiana Enterprise Zone, from the work we did there. I wanted to also mention the fact that outside community and to reach out to the outside community, the Harrison House has attracted a great deal of interest. In fact, I work with the Rural Center for the Outreach Community, Social Services, and they've become very interested since that street is going to open, and that'll be right down the street, and they're very interested in helping the community and in actually locating their Art in the Afternoon program at Harrison House. And I think that'll be very helpful for the area, but Harrison House needs perhaps a broader legitimization than it currently has, and it would be nice to see the committee really give it a help up. In addition to that, the Hogan Family Trust Fund has put money into the Harrison House. We were part of the sponsors of the Get Active Foundation's, I can't remember the name of it, it was a 4-day series of concerts and activities there at the Harrison House. Also, the Truro University has been locating their mobile hospital in the area, and they did that for the auspices of Harrison House. And in addition to that, RCH CAN, the trade group for Alzheimer's homes in the state, has taken an interest and donated money to Harrison House. And as the community outside of the prosperity shadow that I call the 6th District at the moment, as it looks and sees things, it sees a really great experience there, blending of the old and the new, and I think that's really important if you're going to bring community outside of this community into the area. And it's a very welcoming place. Mr. Hogan, though he can't be here due to his recent illness, was very interested as his last project before his stroke. So I just wanted to make that known to you. And I do think that helping ideas sometimes is the best way to achieve a future. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you. We definitely, could you send Mr. Hogan our best, please?
He's speaking again.
He is?
Yeah.
That's great. Can you state your name for the record?
Yes, my name is Stanton Wilkerson. I'm president of Harrison House. And we're proud to say Harrison House just received its 501c3 tax-exempt status this past month. And during this past summer, Harrison House also received its listing on both the State Registry of Historic Places as well as the City of Historic Places. As part of the state nomination, it is going forward to the Department of the Interior for national listing on the Registry of Historic Places. I also wanted to say that one of our projects, we have this kind of off-the-record saying, if you will, at Harrison House. As part of our mission, we bring people in to learn about African American and Black history of Las Vegas. But while they're there, we teach them sustainability, so they come in to learn about Black, but when they leave out green. And with that as a mission, and then a part of our goal, one of the things that we'd like to do with being a part of a green impact zone is also create a level of tourism so that people will come into this area for tourists to see what is going on from a historical standpoint, and then also learn about some sustainability issues as well. And the green with Harrison House being more or less the catalyst or the model for what we would like to do with sustainability, we want to be able to create a measure of understanding within our community first of what kind of jobs there are available. This past summer we had some training programs there where we had some of our contractors. When people contract with Harrison House to do the repairs to bring us, we had some emergency repairs done this summer for heating and cooling, electrical, removing the insulation from the attic and different things like that. We brought people in so that they would learn what construction work was all about, so they wouldn't make the mistake of saying, oh wow, they're offering jobs over here in the green, quote, green impact zone, let me go get one, but I don't really want to work outside in the sun, or I don't want to crawl around in attics and get dusty and dirty. So we had our contractors out there showing people that had an interest in getting jobs in the construction industry, just getting their feet wet, to come in. This is a hammer, this is a screwdriver, these are work goggles, this is a hard hat, and believe me, while it may sound really basic and elementary, there are some people there, including me, that didn't really know what's the safe way to climb up ladders, how do you carry items up. So I just wanted to bring that up. I won't take up much of your time, but we thank you for hearing the introductory parts of the Green Impact Zone, and we look forward, particularly as Harrison House, working with Ward 5 Chamber of Commerce and other stakeholders and bringing you back a report that will address your concerns and issues. Thank you.
Thank you. So any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, we're going to make a motion to adjourn.
Yes.
That's Senator Atkinson was the first. Second by Dr. Young. So this is adjourned. We are adjourning our meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, Chandra.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure.
All right.